Dear students of class 9 Business Studies English Medium Morning Shift, this is Memorandum of Association. How are you? I hope that all of you are well. In the previous class, I discussed about the partnership deed, contents of partnership deed, disadvantages of non-registration of partnership business, and method of dissolution of partnership business. Today, I would like to discuss about the joint stock company. From this lesson, you will be able to know about what is joint stock company, features of joint stock company, classification of joint stock company, and process or method of formation of joint stock company. The organizational journey of business did not remain stipulated in this world, which started through formation of sole proprietorship business. After that, partnership business evolved to remove some limitations of sole proprietorship business, especially small amount of capital, single ownership, and smaller size of business. But the partnership business could not free itself from the limitations of capital, lawful existence, liability, and so on. As a result, on a legal basis, company is formed with more capital, limited liability, and larger in size, which is called joint stock company. The simplest way to describe a joint stock company is that it is a business organization that is owned jointly by all its shareholders. All the shareholders own a certain amount of stock in the company, which is represented by their shares. So it is a voluntary association of persons for earning profit, having the capital divided into some transferable shares, and the ownership of such share is the condition of membership of the company. Joint stock company is created and operated under the law. The first Joint Stock Company Act was enacted or passed in Britain in 1844, which was known as the Joint Stock Company Act 1844. After that, in the subcontinent of British ruled India, first Company Act was passed in 1850. In 1913, the Indian Company Act was again passed. In independent Bangladesh, the Company Act of 1913 has been followed so long. The new Company Act in Bangladesh was introduced in 1994. That means at present in Bangladesh, 1994 Company Act is being followed. Now, features of joint stock company. Joint stock company business possesses some salient features which has given it separate status than all other types of business. The features of joint stock company are given below. Number one, lawful organization. Joint stock company is a law created concern. Basically, this type of organization is formed, operated, and controlled according to the existing law of a country. In Bangladesh, registered company business is formed, operated and controlled according to Company Act 1994. And in case of forming this type of business organization, there is legal bindings or legal complexity. Next, number of members. Registered company basically is of two kinds. One is private limited company, another is public limited company. In case of private limited company, the minimum number of member is 2 and maximum 50. And in case of public limited company, the minimum number of member is 7 and maximum limited by number of shares. Next, voluntary or enthusiastic organization. Registered company is a voluntary organization. Several people willingly comes together to form and operate company business. Any member can attain the ownership of company by purchasing share, and anyone can also quit or depart from the company by selling share. That's why it is called a voluntary or enthusiastic organization. Next, legal personality. Company itself is an artificial person. That is, a company is a legal entity which has been created by the statutes of law. Like a natural person, it can do certain things like enter into a contract, borrow and lend money, can make transaction, can file case with the other party, and other party also can make transaction with the company, can make contract with the company, also can file case against the company. It has also been granted certain rights by the law which it enjoys through its board of directors. So we can say that company exists only in the law and not in any physical form. We call it an artificial legal person. Next, permanent existence. The existence of company is permanent. The registered company is born out of the law. So the only way for the company to end is by the functioning of law. So the life of a company is in no way related to the life of its members. Members or shareholders of a company keep changing, but this does not affect the company's life. That means the death, retirement, insanity of the shareholder do not affect the life of the company. That means members may go, members may come, but company will remain forever. Next, use of common seal. As company is an artificial person, so its day-to-day functions are conducted by the board of directors or hired managers. When a company enters any agreement or sign an contract, the approval is indicated via a common seal. A common seal is engraved seal with the company's name on it. So no document is legally binding on the company unless and until it has a common seal along with the signature of the representative of company. Next, share capital. The total authorized capital of joint stock company is divided into some part. Each equal part is known as share. And the company collects capital by selling share, which is known as share capital. And any eligible person whose age is 18 can attain the membership of company by purchasing share. Next, separation of ownership from management. That is, management is totally separated from the ownership in company business. The owners of the company business do not take part in the operational activities of the company like sole proprietorship or partnership business. You know that shareholders are the real owner of the company. As the number of shareholders are huge, that's why in practice they do not participate in the management of the company. Management responsibility is borne by another group of salaried people, and the director or owners only take part in the policy level of the company. Then, limited liability. This is one of the major points of difference between sole proprietorship business and partnership business. The liability of the shareholders of a company is limited with the invested capital of the shareholders. The personal assets of a member cannot be attached to repay the debts of the company. And in this case, liability limited by shares or liability limited by commitment. Liability limited by share means the liability of the shareholders is limited to the face value of their respective share. That means if any person purchases 1,000 shares of any company whose face value taka 10, his liability will be taka 10,000. That means he cannot be called upon to bear more than this amount. And liability limited by guarantee or commitment means in case of liability limited by commitment, the extent of liability of members is specified in the Memorandum of Association. The liability of its members in case of need may exceed the face value of shares held by them. The commitment liability is enforceable only at the time of winding up of the company. It implies that if a company cannot pay for its liabilities in full at the time of winding up or dissolution, the existing members would be required to contribute for meeting debts and liabilities of the company. And last, democratic management. In operation and management of company business, democratic rules, norms and principles is followed. That is, majority's opinions are granted in case of decision making of the company. In this case, shareholders elect the board of directors through their direct vote, and the business is run by the decision of the board of directors. So these are the features of joint stock company. Now I would like to discuss about the classification of joint stock company. classification of joint stock company is of two kinds. There is joint stock company is divided into two categories. One is private limited company, another is public limited company. A private limited company is an incorporated body registered under the Company Act with three important restrictions or restrictive provisions in its articles of association. Therefore, a private limited company is one which restricts the right of its members to transfer their shares in the company, limits the number of its members to 50, prohibits any invitation to the public to subscribe for any shares or debentures of the company. So, from the above discussion, we can easily say that a private limited company is one in which the minimum number of members is 2 and maximum is 50, and whose shares are not freely transferable to others. The shares only transferable among the members of the company. And in case of private limited company, the minimum number of directors is 2. Next, public limited company. Public limited company is that type of company in which the minimum number of members is 7 and maximum is limited by number of shares specified in the Memorandum of Association. And the shares of this company are freely transferable to others. And such kind of company can also invite the public to buy share and debenture. So, from the above discussion, we can say that a public limited company is one which does not have any restriction on the transfer of shares, does not limit the maximum number of members to 50, and can invite the general public for the subscription of its shares and debentures. And in case of public limited company, the minimum number of directors is 3. So, dear learners, from the above discussion, you have understood the private and public limited company, but I would like to make sure how can you distinguish it is a private limited company or public limited company. In case of private limited company, the word private limited must be added at the end of the name of the company. Say for example, Rupantar Textile Private Limited. In this case, it is a private limited company. But in case of public limited company, the word limited only be used at the end of the name of the company. Say for example, Paramount Textile Limited. It is a public limited company. Next, process of formation of joint stock company. Companies of Bangladesh are formed following some sequential process under the prevailing Company Act 1994 formation of company is done through 4 continuous stages. These are taking initiative or initial stage. In this case, the person interested is to take initiative to form the company. Basically, the person who takes initiative to form the company is called promoter or entrepreneur. In case of private limited company, at least 2 people comes together to form the company, and in case of public limited company, at least 7 people should take initiative to form the company. And in this case, the promoters to take decision about the probable name of the company, nature or type of the company, amount of capital, ways to raise fund, address of the company, and so on. Next, preparation of documents. It is the second stage of formation of joint stock company, and in this case, the promoter or the entrepreneur is to prepare 2 important documents. One is Memorandum of Association and another is Articles of Association. Memorandum of Association is a document which contains the fundamental rules regarding the constitutional activities of a company. That means it is the main or constitution of the company, beyond which company cannot run their activities. If the company run their activities beyond the scope of it will be called ultra vires activities. So in no way means the company cannot run their activities beyond the Memorandum of Association. This document contains the name of the company, the registered address of the company, objective of the company, capital of the company, liability and association of company. So this document states that what is to be done in the company. That is clearly mentioned in this document. Next, Articles of Association. The Articles of Association is a document which contains the rules and regulations for the internal management of the company. That means the document by which the internal affairs of management of company is governed, that is called Articles of Association. It is the subsidiary or secondary document of joint stock company. This document states that how the activities of company will be run. That is clearly mentioned of the company. Say for example, the method of selling share, how the bonus share will be declared to the members of the company, how to run the daily activities of the company, or to convene the AGM or annual general meeting of the company. These are the internal affairs of management of company. Then collection of registration letter. At this stage, for registration of joint stock company, the promoter is to collect prescribed application form from the register of joint stock company in exchange of certain fee. The application form is submitted to the register of joint stock company along with other necessary documents. After that, if the register is satisfied, then he enlists the name of the company in the book of register and gives certificate of registration, which is known as the birth certificate of company. Basically, after getting this document, the company's existence is created. And in this case, the private limited company can start their activity after getting certificate of registration, but public limited company cannot start their activity after getting certificate of registration. They have to collect another important document which is known as certificate of commencement. And last, business commencement certificate or collection of business commencement certificate. In this case, the promoter of joint stock company is to perform some activities for collecting the business commencement certificate. For collecting this certificate, the promoter of joint stock company is to apply to the register of joint stock company with declaration of minimum subscription of capital by the directors and the prospectus to issue share to the public with other important documents. Here, minimum subscription means the minimum amount of capital which is only required for the public limited company to meet the preliminary expense of the company. And prospectus means the invitation or advertisement letter which is only issued by the public limited company to the general public to buy share and debenture. If all the documents are found correct and the registrar is satisfied, then he provides business commencement certificate to the company. And once the business commencement certificate is received, then the public limited company can start their activity. So these are the steps or process of formation of company. Now I would like to give you a homework. Find out the advantages and disadvantages of joint stock company, and second, show the distinguish between private and public limited company. That's all about the discussion of joint stock company. Thank you very much. To stay at home and to pray to Almighty Allah so that you can protect yourself from coronavirus. Thank you.